So this is the first garden that we put in when we started gardening the backyard. We call this the love garden, so because of the arch. So that's a metal arch that I got, and then it has hops, Mount Hood hops growing around it, so they're supposed to be resistant to some of the soil parasites that compromise hops in Missouri. So it's doing fairly well. This is its second year. It's not hasn't produced any female cones yet, but last year it was probably a tenth this size, so it's grown quite a bit more in its second year. So within this garden, we'll just work our way around. In the front corner we have our tomatillas, which we've harvested a few, but there's a lot that are just immature, so they'll be ripe very, very soon. Then we have tomatoes beginning here, and we have these are yellow Cornel del Toro peppers. These are Scotch bonnet peppers. And around the outside, those are the Ecuadorian peppers. It's called a pepper from hell, I think is the translation, but it's got purple flowers, so it's actually Capsicum pubescens, which means hairy. So its leaves and its flowers and its fruit are hairy compared to Capsicum Chinese. So this is Chinese, and that's pubescens. And then all along the back are more tomatoes. So I don't know if you can appreciate how big they are, but I've got one 6-foot cage at the base, and then a second 3-foot cage at the top. So these tomato plants are probably 10 feet tall at the moment. And we have lots and lots of green tomatoes. We've been battling blight a little bit, but I've sprayed some fungicide that seems to control the blight okay. Not great, but it does okay. But the tomatoes are mostly thriving. They're just not ripening very quickly. You can see that we have some ripe tomatoes coming in there. That's a chocolate cherry. They're towards the back of that cage. And then corn. So corn made its way into this bed because this is sweet corn. This is hybrid sweet corn. And corn tolerates 2,4-D herbicide, picloram, and our compost was contaminated with it last year. So we thought we had it under control this year, but this side of the garden ended up having problems again. So we took out the tomatoes and the peppers and we planted corn. And the corn does a good job of sequestering the herbicide, such that in subsequent generations you can plant things that are sensitive to the 2,4-D herbicides. So this garden here this is its second summer. Last summer it was planted with it was filled with compost that also had the 2,4-D herbicide, so that's why it has so much corn. Again, this year you can see a tomato. This tomato plant is being affected by the 2,4-D herbicide. It basically gets gnarled leaves, and the flowers will develop, but then they'll fall off quickly, and it hardly forms any fruit at all. And that 2,4-D contamination happens on farmers' fields. So we got it from St. Louis Composting, and they got the compost from cow manure. And then the farmers pledged not to have used that herbicide, but if a neighboring farmer used it, then their fields could have been contaminated, and it's highly resistant in the environment. It's highly persistent in the environment. So let's see, we have on this half of the garden we have pickles. So we've got both pickling cukes and English cucumbers, and on this left-hand side front we have spaghetti squash. So this is our biggest guy, and he's almost looking like he might be ready to get picked. And in the back we have corn. So on this right-hand side we have that mix of open pollinated corn, and then on the back corner it's another group of hybrid sweet corn. And then you can see that we tried to tuck in some okra. The okra has largely been shaded by the squash, but as the squash kind of dies back, the okra has grown up behind it. So we'll get a late harvest of okra. So here we have Callie's zip line that I built, modeled after one that I saw on the Galapagos Islands. So this is the high point, so it's attached to this tree, and then it goes over the top there, and then the line goes all the way across the yard to the sweet gum on the other side. And then this is Callie's tree house that I built her. She largely perches at the top and fires her bow and arrow at squirrels. But this is basically modeled after one that we saw at a park in Illinois. So this garden is 3 years old, and this year it has tomatoes and peppers in it. All the tomatoes and peppers are doing quite well. Along the back edge, those are all ghost peppers, and right now there are probably about 300 fruit on those peppers. So